A documentary airing at this year's Banff Mountain Film and Book Festival tells the story of a journey to one of the coldest places on Earth to make the biggest film ever attempted about wolves. Here's a clip from Wolves Unleashed.
They definitely chase him for the taxi, but there's no way we'd stop her.
There's another moment where the leg is out of frame and the wolf is speeding up and catching the leg.
And that's from the trailer of the movie Wolves Unleashed by filmmaker Andrew Simpson. It will screen tomorrow at noon at the Eric Harvey Theatre as part of the Banff Mountain Film and Book Festival. Andrew is a world-renowned animal trainer based in Alberta. He's worked with major Hollywood studios on more than 100 productions. In his film, he documents his 2009 trip to Siberia, where he traveled with his pack of wolves to shoot a movie. Andrew joins me now on the phone. Hello.
Hey, nice to chat with you.
Andrew, what an incredible journey that must have been.
Yeah, it was. And it's, the audience can sit back and watch it, but still even for myself and my crew, when we sit and watch it, we just can't actually believe what we went through to make it.
Well, describe for us what you did to get from Alberta to Siberia with a pack of wolves.
It was quite a long, drawn-out process. We were first approached by a French production company to go to Siberia and make this film. And that was the easy part, was talking about it. It actually took us, I think, a little over 6 months to do all the paperwork and all the health checks and everything for the wolf to be up to Russian satisfaction. And then when we left here, we went from here to Frankfurt, Germany, into the quarantine station there. Then we went to another via cargo plane to another destination in Russia, and then to our final destination in Yakut, Siberia.
Wow. And how long did it take?
The whole thing from start to finish was like 87 hours.
Oh, my gosh.
Which is the biggest trip we've ever done by far.
And how could you be sure that the animals were going to do well in that journey?
We did a lot of preparation for them. We would take them, hours at a time on the truck. We would take them down to the airport, let them see the planes and experience the noise and everything on the runways as close as we could get. And we've been doing it with them ever since they were little, so they're exposed to a lot because they do work in the film industry.
How many wolves were you traveling with?
13 we took there.
My. And you're taking them there for a movie. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we took them there for a French film production. It's called Loup, and that's obviously the French word for wolf. And it was a film that came out in 2009, end of 2009 it came out, but unfortunately never made its way to North America. Just like a lot of the European stuff we do never finds its way here for some reason. I think it's a lot to do with the translation.
And this was all shot in a remote camp deep in the Siberian mountains of Russia?
Yeah, when we actually got to our final, destination in Siberia, as far as normal transport went, then we had another 22-hour drive into the mountains. And it was a beautiful location once you got there. I mean, you could turn the camera 360 degrees and see nothing. There's no houses, no sign of life, no power lines. You didn't see anything but reindeer. So they actually built a remote camp for us. Very cold. I mean, we had some days there. Some days was like minus 60 without any wind at all, without the wind factor in that. A lot of us got frostbite, and still, right now, as a lot of Albertans do, when it gets cold, the old frostbite comes back. But the wolves handle it really well, and that was one of the benefits of bringing them from Alberta in the wintertime, because they do have such great coats here. Wolves in general have great coats, but especially being in an Alberta winter, kind of help prepare them for Siberia for sure.
All right, tell me about working with wolves as an animal trainer. What's it like?
Working with wolves, from my perspective, they're great to work with. They're very smart. They learn things very quick, much quicker than a dog does, because of their intelligence. But also because of their intelligence and because of their instinct, which makes them more cautious and apprehensive by nature, they're one of the hardest ones to train, that I feel anyway. A lot of times a dog or a bear, even an elephant, they're just different in their mind, the way their mind works. A lot of people will say they'll be out hiking in the mountains and they'll say, well, we never see a wolf. The wolves are often there and they often see the people, but they're so cautious and so careful about how they expose themselves and how they assess every situation that even you can teach them very quickly, but then it's another whole deal when you take them to a film set and suddenly there's 60, 70 people in front of them. It's a touch-and-go situation. I mean, they always do what they have to do, but they certainly make you work for what you have to get out of them.
Andrew, how do you get to know a wolf and develop a bond with them?
With us, we raise them all as young as possible. Ideally, it's 3 weeks of age. We take them from the mom at 3 weeks of age, just before their eyes open. So as they develop their hearing and develop their sight and their smell, we are the first thing that they experience, sort of like imprinting a small bird. Mm-hmm. So we have them in our house. I mean, they sleep in their bed until they're, almost 12 weeks old.
How did this start for you with wolves?
Like a lot of people who end up in, a certain vocation that they seem to have a passion for, purely by chance. I grew up in Scotland and I traveled the world a lot when I was 20. And then I ended up a lot of stuff in Australia, New Zealand. And I finally ended up in Canada. I fell in with a company who did what I do now. And then I stayed with them for a couple of years and then decided to branch out my own. And that was 15 years ago, I guess.
And you've known a lot of wolves in that time.
Yeah, I've known a lot of wolves. I mean, like everybody, I think, you have a special place in your heart for wolves. They have this whole mystique thing about them and this whole elegance. And, of course, there's always the whole fascination of the scary stories of the werewolf and everything, which we get asked to do a lot in the movies. But for me right now, a lot of the work I do, I'd probably say 60, 70% of the film work I do now is strictly with wolves.
Tell me about making this film then. What compromises do you make when you work with a wolf and you've got a movie script to follow?
That's a tricky question, because as always when someone gives you the script, they write it. Also, we talk about this in the documentary. They don't have an attachment to any animal. They sit in a dark room somewhere in front of the computer, and they write a script. So often we'll get the script, and you look at it and you go, okay, well, just because it's written, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. And there's a lot of sequences we have to change. There's a lot of sequences we say, we can absolutely do, and some that we absolutely can't do. Mm-hmm. But the one thing with this film in particular, a lot of the stuff, I'd say the majority of the stuff we did in this film has never been done before, especially when you see the wolves running free with reindeer. It's total predator and prey working together. And likewise, there's one scene in particular in the film that I probably shouldn't talk about too much, so it spoils the surprise, but you do have to, as a filmmaker, what you've been hired to do, you have to deliver a certain scene. But there's also that moment when you, as the animal trainer who's raised and has this bond with this wolf, where you want to communicate with him so much that what you're going to do is going to be a bit of a surprise, but it's going to be completely safe for him. But you can't, you can't convey that in words. You can't have that conversation with him. So you do have these moments where you're like, you wish you could communicate with him, because you do feel bad at that particular moment, even though you're going to make it up to him tenfold.
And you have to continually work on your relationship?
Yeah, and with that particular scene we're talking about in that movie, it took a little work to get my relationship back on track. I mean, thankfully it's back on track, and they're a very trusting, forgiving animal.
So you're talking about the wolf going through the ice?
Yeah, we're talking about the ice hole sequence. Yeah, one of the biggest sequences in the movie.
Which was set up, and you had to let your wolf go out there and experience that, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty much, what I would call, for want of a better description, it's kind of a cheap shot. You can't, because you can't explain to them, hey, buddy, you're going to walk across here, the ice is going to break, it's a completely secure hole, there's no danger at all, I'm going to be 2 feet away shouting encouragement, he's going to jump in and pop you out. You can't have that conversation, so you just have to, go through and hope that he forgives you afterwards, which he did.
All right. The importance of this film, what is it?
For me, the importance of it was, well, one, because it was such an incredible journey for us and Wolf to do. We felt we'd, document it and share it with the world. But the other important aspect for me was just to show people, there is a different side to wolves. Because a lot of people, first of all, they see wolves in films, and, we're responsible for doing a lot of it too. It's always attack stuff. It's always snarling. It's the horror, scary wolf, or the werewolf time wolf. And the other side, we'll talk to a lot of people, and they're like, oh, my God, how do you work with wolves? You must be so terrified all the time. But in reality, and what I hope this documentary will show a lot of people, is there is a different side to them. They're not the scary monster that a lot of people, perceive them to be. And there is a big emotional attachment. They are capable caring and showing affection to a human person. And there is that, to quote the movie, that unbreakable bond that does exist.
Beautiful animals. Andrew, thank you so much. I look forward to the movie.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Andrew Simpson, he's a world-renowned animal trainer. His film Wolves Unleashed documents his journey with a pack of wolves to Siberia for a movie from Alberta. It screens tomorrow at noon at the Eric Harvey Theatre as part of the Banff Mountain Film and Book Festival.